Hallo, willkommen zurück in der Deutschklasse. Ich bin Ihr Professor, Herr Dr. Professor Michael Hughes. Wir sind hier in Deutsch 102 und wir lernen bei Carl de San Marcos. Heute ist das Thema unseres Gesprächs die Präpositionen. Hello, welcome back to German class. This is German 102. We're learning here at Cal State San Marcos. I'm Professor Dr. Michael Hughes. And today we're going to talk about accusative prepositions in German. We're going to start just by talking about what prepositions look like in English. Well, I'll start with the parts of speech. We'll talk about the prepositions. Then we'll finish up by showing you how this small set of prepositions works in German. But just to remind ourselves, we'll go through this really quickly. You know what a noun is, right? Nouns are things. Things we can use. We can introduce things with the, and we can pluralize them with s, right? So anything you can stick the, these, that, those in front of, and you can pluralize. That's going to be a noun. Adjectives modify nouns, right? They describe nouns. They tell what color, size, shape, feelings, things like that, right? Pronouns simplify noun phrases, right? So they take a whole noun phrase and reduce it into a little word. We're going to talk a bit about pronouns in a bit. We're not going to talk so much about verbs today, just here because why not, right? Verbs are actions and states. Verbs can be conjugated for time, right? We have present, future, and past, which you can't do with the other things. And the s, when it's on a verb, means singular, right? So instead of so he eats or she eats or it eats, it's going to be a singular thing that's eating. Adverbs usually end in ly in Germany, and they modify verbs. They tell you how the thing is happening, right? He ran quickly, he studied slowly, he won the game expertly, or something like that. Oops. And then prepositions, which is really the thing we care the most about today, link noun phrases, right? So the noun and the adjectives and articles and things like that, everything that modifies that main noun to the rest of the sentence, right? They show things like location, direction, time, and cause, right? Why something was done or what it was done for, right? For is a preposition, for instance. The 12 most used, you'll notice these prepositions are all pretty small words generally. There's a couple longer ones. The 12 most used prepositions in English: in, on, at, to, for, with, from, by, about, of, under. I'm not going to give an example for each one. You guys know how English works. But just let's take a quick look at some of them. The key thing we need to remember is they introduce noun phrases, right? So the preposition the pre part of the preposition thing tells us it comes before noun phrases. Right, so for instance, in the gym, right? Gym, there's our the, right? One gym, two gyms, we know it's a noun. On this table, that tells us it's a noun, right? For the win. At the library, from Santa Claus, over the moon, with love, by the power vested in me by the state of California, and so on, right? But you can see in every case, these are all noun phrases. Okay, and noun phrases, of course, can be replaced by pronouns, right? So, and that's the key thing to remember, right? So, if I were to ask you in class, or at the beginning of the semester, hey, what's a pronoun? You say, oh, it replaces a noun, right? But we know now that it's not the case that it just replaces the noun; it replaces the whole noun phrase, right? So, the man in the yellow hat, that's the noun phrase. The man is the main noun in that phrase, and that all right in the yellow hat is a prepositional phrase that modifies the man. And so, but that whole thing gets reduced to he. We don't say the he in the yellow hat, right? Okay, pronouns in English come in two flavors. We get subject pronouns and object pronouns. Just to remind yourself, subjects and objects are both typically noun phrases. The subject is the one that acts, right? The one that does stuff, and the object is the thing that's acted on. And here's a chart of the subject and object pronouns in English. Remember, in English, we can decide what the subject and an object is typically based on word order. So it's kind of superfluous or redundant to have a different subject and object pronouns, right? And you can see, right, in certain cases like you and it, it's the same in both spots. You can imagine a world or a version of English where there was only one set of pronouns, right? Because it all depends on position. But that's not the world we live in yet, so currently we still have all of these different pronouns, right? So I is the subject, I see you, and then me is the object, you see me, right? In this case, if you see me, I'm the one being acted on, at least metaphorically. Okay, you guys know all of this stuff. After prepositions in English, you just use the object pronouns, right? You have to say with me, you can't say with I. Well, about you is the same, right? We saw that you is the same for both subjects and objects. You say for him, not for he. To her, near it, around us, next to y'all, and then between them. And notice, right, again, them, not they. And then, this comes up every so often, and you'll hear English speakers, even well-educated English speakers, saying things like between you and I. Technically, that's wrong, right? Because between is a preposition, and both of these things should be object pronouns. And so if you say between you and me, your grammar teacher, your English teacher, and also your German professor will be very happy. Should anybody correct you if you say between you and I? No, they shouldn't, because it's super common. People do it all the time, and don't worry so much about how people say. Worry more about what they say. Okay, good. So now let's look at German real quick. German has this, we're going to talk just about 5 prepositions. So German, like English, has a bunch of prepositions, right? More than 5. These are the ones that we care about right now. They're just 5 of them. And German, let's look at the accusative pronouns actually first, right? So because it's the same thing, right? So we have subject, right? Nominative case pronouns and accusative object pronouns. All right. So the subject is ich, the object is mich. The subject is du, the object is dich. Yeah. Ihn, and I want to point out right here, so as we go through LZS, we'll notice in the accusative for the articles, right, for the only one that changes is the er form, right, the der form. And that's true for the singular pronouns here too, right? Er becomes ihn, but the other ones are going to stay the same, right? So she, sie, it just stays sie, and es just stays s, right? Again, like English, right? Well, not the she part, but the s part for sure. Wir becomes uns, right? So we and us. Ihr becomes euch, so y'all, and then this is the German form of y'all, and then sie, again, like the plural, let's look down here, the plural form stays the same in both the noun and accusative, so you get sie and sie. Right? Okay, and now let's look at those 5 prepositions that I've been teasing so far. Here they are. Durch, go ahead and say that again. Durch, it's kind of a weird sounding word, huh? Für, right? And your lips, when you say this, right, your lips should be round. You're basically saying the English E sound, but with round lips, right? Für. Gegen, ohne, and Now, you might want to remember, there's going to be 3 lists of prepositions that you have to learn. This is the shortest list. So if you have 3 sets, right, in German, you only really need to memorize 2 of those sets, right? Because whatever's not on the first 2 lists is going to be on the 3rd list. This is a good one to memorize because it's pretty short. You can just memorize it, dafür, gegen, ohne, Just say that like 20 times, you'll have it memorized. And that's alphabetical order. But you don't have to. If you wanted to, you could have a mnemonic of dog foo. Haha. There's our handsome German Shepherd in Cal State San Marcos colors, right? Durch, ohne, gegen, für, and Does that help you? If that helps you, that's fine. For me, I always just learn dafür, gegen, ohne, dafür, gegen, ohne, dafür, gegen, ohne, dafür, gegen, ohne. And pretty soon you'll have it memorized. Durch, right? Durch den Park, right? Der Park, nominative, durch den Park, accusative, right? So these are the couples walking through the park, durch den Park. Der Hund, right, is nominative, but it's the accusative case. Der Hund becomes den Hund. So für den Hund, right? She's giving him, I don't know, little snacks. I don't know why she's doing it in the park, but whatever, right? So this is the guy, he's leaning against, gegen the wall, right? And die Wand. We see the D stays the same, so lehnt gegen die Wand. Poor guy's got no money in his pockets, right? Es ohne Geld, das Geld. Es ohne das Geld. I mean, es ohne Geld. You don't have to say he's without the money. You say but the point stands, right? After ohne, you just get plain old das. And das Merkmal, right? Und die Touristen stehen das Merkmal, right? The tourists are standing around the monument. Okay, so let's wrap it all up real quick. Everything I just said in 9 minutes in less than a minute. Let's see if we can do it. So prepositions are the little words that connect noun phrases to the rest of the right in, on, out, for, and by. Pronouns, little words to take the place of noun phrases. I, you, he, she, we, they, me, etc. And then when pronouns replace the object of the preposition, we use the object pronouns. 5 prepositions in German introduce the accusative case, right, which is the object case. These are durch, für, gegen, ohne, and Right? And so we have durch den Tunnel, für dich, gegen ihn, ohne Freunde, and den Tisch, right, around the table, against him, for you, through the tunnel, and without friends. Okay, you guys know how to get in touch with me if there's any questions. Hughes at CSUSM.edu. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys later on in class. You can also message me through Canvas if that's easier for you. Auf Wiedersehen.